The life insurance industry abounds with examples of hard-driving, highly motivated and resourceful individuals whose activities have strengthened the country's economy. But even in an industry that puts a premium on these qualities, Godfrey McAllister is exceptional. In the life insurance industry, many stories circulate about his accomplishments, and his example is sometimes used to motivate people to enter the industry. In the first 3 months of being a life underwriter, he qualified for the prestigious $1 Million Round Table, MDTR, an international competition. He repeated the performance the following year, and by 1980 he qualified for the top of the table in the MDRT, one of only 2 persons from Jamaica to have achieved this. In that year also, he broke almost all the industry records and came away with no fewer than 7 awards from Life of Jamaica, where he worked. In that year, he became chairman of the LOJ Production Club, having been the highest earner. After a break from the industry, Mr. McAllister returned to chalk up even more achievements, this time with Alico. In 1984, he was the leading agent in the Caribbean in group production category. In the following year, he was to do even greater things. He became Alico's #1 man in the world in the personal accident line of business. A position is retained every year, although Alico has branches in 60 countries. A much sought-after speaker at sales and insurance congresses and functions, Mr. McAllister has lectured in Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana, the United States and Mexico, in addition to Jamaica. An energetic and dynamic speaker who pulls thunderous applause, he is now launched into a career as a motivational speaker. Godfrey McAllister firmly believes that he has a responsibility to give back to Jamaica and to the world at large some of the things he has gleaned from his experiences. Today, he spends much time doing voluntary work and serving as Public Relations Director of the Life Underwriters Association of Jamaica, the LUAJ. He is host of the LUAJ's half-an-hour radio program on JBC, Friend in Need, and author of the words and music of the organization's anthem. Born in Guyana 37 years ago, he attended high school there, after which he came to Jamaica to study at the Jamaica Theological Seminary, where he graduated with a first degree. He's worked as a teacher, guidance counselor, and as plant manager, in addition to being a publisher's representative. His first fascination, however, is with people. His motto is, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Married with 1 daughter, he lists his hobbies as drama, debating, dancing, and table tennis. And in this evening's profile with Ian Boyne, he gives some of the secrets to his success.
Godfrey, you have been a sensation in the life insurance industry. Is there something inherently extraordinary or special about people like yourself who rise to such astonishing levels of success? Or can the average person do it?
Well, I would say, Ian, that the answer to both those questions is yes. Yes, there's something very special about people who are successful. And yes, the average person can do it. Because...
Explain that seeming contradiction.
Well, I believe that God gave all of us a very fair break in life. The problem is that we have formulated certain ideas as to what a fair break is. We feel that being born into a wealthy family, for instance, is a good start. I may show to you that a man who is born into a wealthy family may not have the desire to work hard, may not have the desire to study hard because he's made it already. Mm-hmm. The person who's born into the poor family, mm-hmm. he has to make the effort, and as a result, his wits and his abilities and his faculties are sharpened, and he succeeds even better than the one who's born into a wealthy family. Mm-hmm. So the question is, the things that we have, the assets that we have, the home that we are born into, the people that surround us, it depends on how do we see them? What do we consider to be assets that give rise to success? My answer is that God has given to each and every one of us the ability to succeed. And deep down inside, He's also given us that latent desire to succeed. It is up to us now to bring out that desire and to work on it.
Yeah. One of the things that strike me sometimes, Godfrey, is that motivational speakers like yourself ignore environmental factors, ignore the environmental constraints under which people have to operate. Take a man, a young man in the ghetto. He has no skills. He comes from an area that is despised. If he puts that on his application form to any company, he is not likely to be seriously considered. He's from a family which did not give him the kind of motivational urge that a person like you or others might have had. He doesn't have the GC. How does he move from that point? He might not even have the desire because of the environmental constraints to become a success. How does he move from that point to become the kind of person that you are saying he can be through God or some other philosophical argumentation?
Ian, at some point or the other, we have got to have the desire to succeed. That's what you call a sine qua non. In other words, we cannot discuss the matter without that. You must have the desire. Question is, if you are not surrounded by an environment that helps to create or to ignite that desire, the question is, how do you get that desire? And I'm saying that people like yourself, people like myself, and the hundreds of thousands of other persons around that have enjoyed certain measures of success, we have a responsibility to help create in the minds and in the heart and in the head of those who are not privileged that desire to succeed. Fortunately, there are a number of people around us that are successful. And the man in the ghetto, to use your example, or the underprivileged person can look at some people and recognize that they have been successful. The problem, though, is that most people, when they look at somebody that is successful, instead of saying, I too can be successful, they either grudge the person or try to explain away the person's success. Oh, he is successful because A, B, C. The fact is, however, that if we look at people who are successful, and there are hundreds of them, you have had a number of them on your program already, a lot of these people have had very humble beginnings.
Yes.
And I'm saying that it starts off with the desire. Once you desire to be successful, then your body chemistry, your mental chemistry, you begin giving off vibrations that people around will detect and pick up and will begin to respond to you in such a way that will allow you to become successful.
Okay. What happens after that? After one has the desire?
Okay.
How does he build on that desire?
All right. Once you have the desire automatically gives rise to activity. In other words, if you are hungry, you are hungry, you are hungry, you want food, and there is the hot dog on the cupboard just across there. What do? You get up and you walk. So you don't have feet, you crawl. You can't crawl, you swing. You can't swing, you do something. But you get to the hot dog. So desire always results in activity. And activity really is what brings about success, not the desire. It's the activity that brings about success.
When did you yourself grasp your own human potential? When was there that flash of insight, if that was how it came for you? Give us a little insight into your own background.
I remember like a child of 14 years, or should I say a youth, a youth of 14 years. I was in Guyana at the time, and I can't recall being tremendously successful at anything. Certainly I was not successful at in my relationships, especially with the opposite sex. I remember distinctly being very, very upset that I couldn't get any girlfriends, And in my class, there were what we used to call face guys, poodle boys, sweet boys, boys like, boys like you here, good-looking guys, you know what I mean?
And you weren't numbered among them?
Oh, no, I was the opposite. My head was as big as it is now, and my body was a lot smaller, so hence there was this apparition of being a big head man. But in addition to that, I stammered a lot. I mean, I stammered. Couldn't get 2 words out. I really stuttered. Oh my God. And so the girls used to call me Big Head Stammering Mac. Now, how do you get a girl when you're a big head stammering Mac? You just can't operate like that. And I kept on trying and trying until one day a crisis arose. I decided I was going to get this particular girl that I liked. Her name was Joy. And I decided that I would approach Joy, and we used to ride bicycles in Guyana and so on, going to school. And Bishop's High School was on the east, and Queen's College that I attended was on the west. The girls go to Bishop's, and the boys went to Queen's. These were the two top schools in Guyana. And Bishop's High School was about 1 mile from Middle Street, and the Queen's College was about 1 mile on the other side from Middle Street. And the boys will jump on their bicycles when school is over, and they will ride at a breakneck speed to get to Middle Street. And the girls will do the same thing. But as soon as we touch Middle Street, everybody just easy. Because now it's time for the boys to check the girls and the girls to check the boys. But alas, for Godfrey McAllister, there was no girl to check. I decided I'm going to check a girl. And so I saw Joy coming, and of course I said, no man, this is my time now. And Joy was riding with about 6 others of her friends. And I went up to her, I rode up cautiously, and I took a deep breath, and I said, before I could get the word joy out, Joy and her friends were laughing. I heard them laugh. As a matter of fact, one of them actually fell off a bicycle. They were laughing, and Joy said, go away, big-head stammering Mac. And that was the motivation I needed. I obeyed instantly. I rode as fast as I could ride. Got to my house, opened the gate, rode inside, threw my bicycle down, opened the door, ran upstairs, into my bedroom, locked the door, across the bed, and cried. I cried myself to sleep. When I woke up about 4 hours later, lo and behold, I saw somebody in the room. Guess who I saw? Guess who I saw? Well, wherever I tell the story, people always assume that I saw Joy. And I said to them, you watch too much TV. No, I saw myself. You see, I woke up in front of my full-size, full-length mirror. Mm-hmm. And for the first time, Ian, at the age of 14, I saw myself. And I realized for the first time that I looked at myself in the mirror, and I said, but Godfrey, and I remember I used to stammer. I said, but Godfrey, this is you? That is you? But Godfrey, you're not handsome. Godfrey McAllister, you're not handsome. All the while you thought you were handsome, you're not handsome. And believe it or not, that awakening caused me to realize that I was depending on something that I did not have to try to do what the other face boys like yourself were doing with their good looks. And at the same time I said to myself, I said, all right, I don't have good looks, but what do I have? Cut a long story short, 6 months later, no party went on without Godfrey McAllister being invited. I became the center of attraction. Head was still big, still used to stammer, but no party went on. What changed? Well, I'll tell you what changed. I discovered a secret, which I share in my motivational presentations all over the world. And that secret is this. People have a tremendous need. Most of us by nature are receivers. We like to receive. And if a man likes to receive, his best friend will always be a man who likes to give. Mm-hmm. The Bible, incidentally, I shouldn't say incidentally, the Bible says it is more blessed to give than to receive. And what I began doing was giving to people what they needed. I gave people self-esteem. I made people feel good. Instead of talking about me, I spoke about them, and they felt good around me.
Mm-hmm. And they savored your company.
They savored my company. And as a result, I became a hero, still stammering, still with a big head.
So what you did, in short, Godfrey, was that you concentrated on those things over which you had control,
yes,
on the assets which you had, and you built on those, and forgot about some of the perhaps more glamorous assets which others had.
Which we tend to think are the important things.
So you would say to someone who feels that he has a lot of limitations, that he has a lot of obstacles, to forget those limitations and obstacles in the sense of trying to build on strengths which you say every human being has.
Right.
You say every human being has
Every human being has strengths. And what we need to do is to concentrate less on our weaknesses and more on our strengths. Not ignore the weaknesses, by the way. We must accept our weaknesses. But at times we can become so concerned about the things we cannot do that we ignore the things that we can do.
Yes.
And that's a trick of the devil. Because if I think of what I cannot do, I will never do what I can do. And there may be 99 things that I cannot do, and only one thing that I can do. And I am saying that the way out, the way up, is to, for a while, de-emphasize the things I cannot do and concentrate on the one thing I can do and do it. And do it well. And success, I believe, will follow.
And this is a kind of philosophy that has helped you to shatter records in the life insurance industry and to become a favored speaker in a number of islands in the Caribbean and other countries.
I would say yes. I would say yes. As far as the shattering of the records is concerned, yes, I do have a few records, quote unquote, shattered.
Yeah.
But
what are some of the techniques that you have used in the life insurance industry to have given you those records? Because you have been, I think, for 3 years now, the #1 man in the world in the ALICO personal accident side of the business.
Yes, I would say, I know that my good friend and mentor, Danny Williams, will not agree with my presentation here in terms of the actual statement, but I don't like to be called a salesman. I don't like to be called a salesman, primarily because of the image.
Oh, yes.
The traditional image of a salesman as being somebody who can sell a fridge to an Eskimo. Now that's a slur as far as I'm concerned. I prefer to say that I respond to people's needs. I prefer to be thought of in that light. And throughout my career, I have not sold. I've responded to the needs of my clients. When I came into the industry, I worked with nurses. And my nurses will tell you that I worked with my nurses. I was involved in their youth fellowship. I was involved with their different activities. I helped them in producing magazines. I remember there was one year when they came to me, they called me Uncle Godfrey, of course, from the Children's Bible Club radio show. And they said, Uncle Godfrey, you have a problem. It's too late to produce the magazine. What are we going to do? And of course, I always believe that there's always hope. Never say die. And I said, okay, we may not be able to produce a magazine, but we'll produce a souvenir album. And I designed an album for them, and it simply consisted of their photographs and a little catchy statement, name, of course, photograph, name, and something that identified the particular girl. And of course, I did my advertising at the back. I never leave that out. And they liked it. I designed the front cover for them, and they liked it. Now, when time came to sell insurance, a number of the other agents came around now trying to sell. You know, professional sellers. I mean, they came around to sell and to go into arguments and objections and so on. But the girls didn't know them.
They turned to the person who helps them.
They automatically assumed that I would be their agent. And in that particular year, I sold about 85% of the batch of nurses. The same thing applies with my policemen. I do a lot of work among policemen now. And they will tell you, I seldom try to make a hard sale. As a matter of fact, quite often I give a lecture to policemen in different areas. And I don't even mention the insurance program that I market to them. We build up a relationship, and I think that's very important, meeting people's needs.
Do you think enough of that has been done in the industry among the sales staff?
I would say that a number of insurance salespersons are very successful, and as such, I would have to assume that they're doing this, because I cannot see lasting success coming any other way. There are a lot of persons in many professions, we call them fly-by-nights, but they write their own story. They're here today and they're gone tomorrow. That takes care. I don't have to comment on that.
That brings us, Godfrey, to your notion of success. You drive a Benz and wear a three-piece suit every day. Is your notion of success largely materialistic? How do you define a successful person? Do I need to drive a Benz and to wear a three-piece instead of a two-and-a-half?
Well, first of all, the Benz that I'm driving now, I'll be setting to buy a Chevette pretty soon. And the three-piece suit, really,
That'll remain.
Well, let's put it this way, I go from one extreme to another. If you don't see me in my three-piece, you'll see me in my muscle shirt. Not that I have muscle, but no, I believe that success is not only relative, and my good friend Tony Williamson says it's so relative that the more success you have, the more relatives you get. But anyway, no, not in that sense. But I believe that success is relative, and it's this is a very important point here. Too many times, other people determine what our standards of success must be. So we live a life continually trying to please other people. I try to be like Mr. A, and Mr. A tries to be like Mr. B. Instead of each and every one of us looking at ourselves, looking at our strengths, looking at our weaknesses, and trying to determine what is our area, what is our ability, and being the best that we can be. I believe that success, therefore, is a function of satisfaction. And a man that has that lives in a one-room house and is satisfied is more successful than a man who lives in a mansion of 12 rooms and all he can dream of is building one with 50 rooms.
Yes. This is not the message we get in advertising, not the message we get from the society generally,
no,
which tends to project an image of success contrary to that.
And this is very unfortunate, and this is why you have so many people in Bellevue, and so many others who probably should be in Bellevue that are not, haven't reached there yet, because we consume ourselves by psychological messages that are not practical, they're not realistic, and it becomes a rat race, if I may use that term, where you keep on striving and you never arrive. And most of us have long passed the point where we can be successful. Success is far behind most of us. And at times we've got to get back to those basic fundamentals of satisfaction.
What do you cherish as your greatest accomplishment, Godfrey? There have been so many.
Without the shadow of a doubt, my greatest achievement, and I must say praise be to God at this point, because I can't think or talk about success without giving him the praise. My greatest achievement is the fact that I've been able to share positive ideas with people in many countries and thousands of people in different parts. Mahalia Jackson, in her immortal words, says, if I can help somebody in a word or song, if I can help somebody as I travel along, if I can show someone that they're going wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. And I'm at a stage now where I can spend a lot more time building myself and making myself more successful and adding wealth and so on. But I have no desire for that. I'm living comfortably, far from wealthily, but I'm living comfortably, thank God. And my obsession right now is to help others. Because when I help others, there's a multiply effect.
The obsession is not to make more money, no.
No. My obsession is to help others. And that is what I consider to be the greatest possible achievement. Because let us say that I become a billionaire or a trillionaire. One bullet takes care of me. One flu takes care of me. One whatever else takes care of me. Or old age takes care of me. And that is the end of that story. But if I can share a word of love around, if I can share a message of hope, if I can motivate, if I can help each person to become 10% better, then I would have set a ripple effect in motion. And the success ripple would affect eventually all those around me. And that, of course, I'm very grateful to God that I've had the privilege of sharing with a number of
So you would achieve your immortality through...
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the interesting things that happened in your life, Godfrey, is that after a period of skyrocketing success in the insurance industry, you came down, your sales went down, you went through a slump.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, because this is one of the things that you have related in your motivational talks.
I came into the insurance business in 1978, in October. My manager, man I'm very proud of, D.A. Tony Williamson, CLU, branch manager now of Life of Jamaica's largest branch. He said to me, I said to him I wanted to do sales part-time. He said no. He says you give it your all or leave it. Don't give it anything at all. And so I had to satisfy myself that I could make it. To cut a long story short, I came into business in October of 78, and by December, which is 3 months, I qualified for the $1 million round table. That in itself was an achievement. Next year I qualified again, but in the third year, second full year, I qualified for the top of the $1 million round table.
That's internationally?
Internationally. There were about 3% of the people at that time, it's probably about 5 now, that qualified for the $1 million round table.
And you were at the very top.
I was, and there's about 0.0001% of the 3% that qualified for the top.
Yeah.
So that was a level of success. But immediately after that, so I had a psychological reversal. I wouldn't go into it now.
Yes.
You can see me off the air and I'll tell you. But I had a psychological reversal. Nothing mystifying. It had to do with with the company in which I worked.
Nice.
It had to do with a breaking in communication. But the bottom line is that my powerful mind was thrown into reverse gear. And from writing 500 lives in that year, from being set to write 1,500 lives the next year, I wrote 0 lives in 1981. I became paralyzed. I could not write. People began calling me, asking me to sell them insurance, and I said no. And they couldn't give me a good reason why I should sell them, and so I didn't sell. Obviously, eventually, I became bankrupt. Couldn't pay my bills, couldn't maintain my lifestyle. The bank came and seized my car, had to leave the house I was living in. And to cut a long story short, I was broke. The only reason I did not declare myself bankrupt is because I always say, never say die. And what happened after that is that I remained in that period of slump, but then something happened. The germ was still there, the desire was still there, and again, to cut a very long story short, I decided to give it one more try. And well, the rest is history.
How do you pick yourself up again from that slump? Did it occur in an evening, or was it a period of time in which you reflected on what had gone wrong?
Well,
how easy it is for someone having attained success and having fallen to rise again? Because some of those watching us have been in that situation.
Yeah.
What does one need to do to rise from the slump?
To rise from your slump and succeed, you must have the desire. I know I'm beginning to sound like a stuck record,
Okay.
but that's the facts. The desire is the starting point for all activity, without which our lives will be marred by the morass of mediocrity. We have got to start with desire. I had the desire. When I saw my car gone, I saw my friends gone, quote unquote friends, that is, which is what most of us have. I saw a number of things gone. I saw myself being unable to support my family. They took away my credibility, my credit rating. They couldn't take away my dignity, but they took away everything else. I couldn't go any further here. And I believe that as a practical psychologist, I like to explain psychology in real life terms, in physical terms. And if you are falling and you hit the floor, for all practical purposes, you can't go any further. The only place left to go now is up again. Okay? And that's exactly what happened. I was offered a job by a chemical sales firm because I'd given them a motivational presentation, even when I was in my slump. And they didn't know I was in a slump. And they really were motivated. And they offered me a job. And of course, I was tempted to grab the job because I was broke. And I took home the bottle of chemicals and I went before the mirror and I practiced my sales presentation, and I'm sure that I had made the sale. But then I remembered my commitment. I remembered my dream. And I realized that my presence in the insurance industry was not just an opportunity to make money. It was an opportunity to serve people. I have a theological background, and I believe that just as important as preaching, quote unquote, to a man's soul is ensuring that he's able to live a meaningful life on earth. And I believe that second to salvation is life insurance. Because whereas salvation provides eternal security, life insurance provides natural, physical, earthly security.
I should make you pay for that advertisement.
I think the nation will be getting so. All right. And so I decided that chemicals was not for me. And I take my hat off to those who sell chemicals. They keep our floors clean and sanitation and so on. But I had to get back into the life insurance industry.
And so you did.
So I did.
To what premium would you place on self-confidence in the whole matter of success, briefly?
A person who is self-confident is always accused of being conceited.
Yes, and arrogant.
And the thin line that separates them is, in my opinion, a well-placed faith in a superior being. I call him God, right? In other words, I am self-confident. I'm very confident, but I give him the praise. I know why I am what I am, so it doesn't make me conceited. But if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will believe in you. And you must believe that you can. And once you believe you can, I believe that others will believe. And if you have time for a quick little illustration that comes to mind, at about 16 years of age, I was walking down one of the roads in Guyana, one of the more residential areas where the people of lesser pigmentation than I have, the colorless people, live, you know. And there was a dog, two dogs rather, and these dogs were black dogs. And these black dogs were standing there, and I saw a colorless or a white man passing by. And he had a pipe in his mouth, and he was walking very stately. And when the dogs saw him, the dogs, as it were, bowed in submission, you know, and they put their tail betwixt their feet, and they just allowed him to pass. I said to myself, them dogs, they're soft, you know what I mean? They're soft. So I begin moving now. And as I am moving now, the dogs see me. And the dogs rush at me and literally sprung to my throat. I managed to get rid of them and ran and ran and ran and ran. A few stones, a few sticks, and so on. But after the ordeal was over, I said, hold on. You mean to say even the black dog discriminating against black man? I couldn't understand it. And I said, no. But later on, I realized what happened. My good friend, I hate to say the white man, but anyway, you know what I mean. He was not afraid of the dogs. He was confident. And so his body chemistry gave off confidence. I was scared of the dogs.
The dogs picked it up.
And my body chemistry gave off fear. And the dogs turned on to the fear and attacked me. Can I put in a plug for the nation right now? We're talking a lot about the gunmen and crime and criminals and things that are suppressing us. And I'm saying to this nation of Jamaica, don't give in to fear. If you become fearful, then your body chemistry will give off fear, and the criminals will attack even more. Give off confidence, and they'll realize that their days are numbered.
Yeah. Basically, Godfrey, what is your motto in life?
Conceive, believe, achieve.
And your life has certainly been a demonstration of that. Godfrey McAllister, thank you very much for having come this evening, for having really raised our adrenaline, having raised your own. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
If ever there was an idea whose